All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of Queens Uplifting and Inspiring Podcast. I am so excited to be before you guys on tonight because we got a special guest. Listen, y'all, we got a special guest. I want y'all to go ahead and give it up for my sister, Minister Kaetoya McClendon. When I tell you this woman of God is powerful, look, me and this girl, we've been friends since a long time ago. We actually met in middle school when I lived in Mississippi, and me and her had a great relationship, and God is just doing some amazing things in her life, and I wanted her to come on tonight to share with you guys as well. So I am so excited. I am going to pass the mic to you, baby girl, so you can let them know, introduce yourself to the people.
Well, hello everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Queen Juanica, for this opportunity. I love it. I love you. I'm loving this. This is great what you're doing. I just pray God continue to bless this podcast, bless your voice, just bless your inspiration to many. So I am excited to be here. My name is Kaetoya McClendon, but I go by Kay. You can call me Kay. Um, I'm I'm married. I've been married for 8 years. We just made 8 years.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
We have two beautiful children, a boy and a girl, and um, I'm a I've been a stay-at-home mom for 7 years, and so I'm just my life is wrapped around my family, my children, church. So and that's about it, I guess.
No, baby, and you also are an author. You're an author.
Oh
Tell
yeah.
the people. Yeah, don't forget about, come on now.
So I don't have my book with me right, but I am an author of Woman of Word 60-day devotional. The Lord just inspired me years ago to really reach out and to touch young women, to encourage young women, and we need it so much in this day and time because a lot of young women are just falling away. And I believe that he just used me and in my life testimony to in my transition to be able to reach those that may have feel lost and feel unworthy. So I wrote the book Woman of Work 60-day devotional. You may purchase it on any major book selling platform, Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, anything like that. And I also have a modest boutique, Lay Lux boutique. So that is something that I'm working on right now. And I think that's about it.
Amen. Amen. Wow. See, that's what I'm telling you, baby. That wasn't it. You are an entrepreneur. And one of the things that I love about you, even just looking at you from afar, is that you are that Proverbs 31 woman. Like her. Okay. And I'm gonna just read a little bit of the scripture, and I'm gonna read it in the message version because look, I love how the message version just breaks it down. But
Right.
when I think of a Proverbs 31 woman, you are that ideal woman. And so I'm going to just read it for the people in case they haven't read it. But it says, a good woman is hard to find and worth far more than diamonds. Her husband trusts her without reserve and never has reason to regret it, never spiteful. You can just tell by how your attitude is towards your husband. She treats him generously all her life long. She shops around for the best yarns and cottons. And look, it's a lot on here. And I don't want to read all of it, but y'all go ahead and read Proverbs 31 because this woman right here, she exemplifies exactly who that woman is. And it's so amazing because you're so young, you know. Usually women they don't get to honor their husband and be about their family and stuff until they're like in their 40s and 50s and things like that. But you did things the right way. Now you did some things the wrong way. You was out here, you was a hot girl like me, but you're retired now. You're retired now, but I just love your testimony of how you allow God to come in and transform you. I just seen the other day you posted on Facebook. You was like, once was lost and now I'm found. And so I want you to share a little bit of your testimony and your journey with God.
Well, you were right. I was out here. I was, and sometimes I can't really fully give the fullness of the testimony because I've done some things that I have really been ashamed of. And I know God delivered me out of, but some things I don't share as much because of my husband. I still respect my husband. And even though he knows that stuff happened, things happen in my past, but it's just that, sometimes people can't handle everything about, everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I was one that, I grew up in church. My dad was a pastor. And I grew up in church, but I didn't really want church, if that makes sense. So my parents, I felt like I was kind of forced into it. But I'm so grateful that they were trying to lead me, or they were leading me in the right direction. And so, but I just kind of steered away from it. I got out. I was on drugs. I mean, I was a party girl. I was the first one in the clubs. I just had to get high. I was drunk. I mean, I was in and out of jail. I was addicted. I had a gambling problem. I was just, I was just so much of a loose woman that was so far from listening to anything of the name of Jesus. Like, I was so far from Christianity. I was so far from godly woman. I mean, the way I would dress was just because I used to always love fashion. I was always into fashion and things like that. And when I go to the club, I was going to show out. I had everything out. I mean, it was just, I thought I had to be that way. Like, especially like with guys and things like that. And that's why, it's stuff with like guys and stuff like that I I just really hate that I abused myself in that way. Like, I did not love myself enough to hold up a standard to respect my own body. And so I allowed things, I got addicted to so much, and I allowed the drugs to abuse me. I allowed the men, I mean, just all type of things that I really was just crushing myself in just like this deep, deep hole and didn't even realize it. And I ended up going through a situation where I was living out of my vehicle for about 6 to 7 months, and I had to park in the woods and things like that. And so, but it was in those moments. A lot of people would say, because I was going to school at Alcorn State University, and I had 19 hours of school, and I couldn't go home because I had so many classes, and I lived about an hour or so away, and I would just park my car off campus in the wood area, and I would stay in my vehicle late at night, cold, lonely, and then I wake up early in the morning. I would drive, sneak on campus, and there was a building on campus that not many people would go to. So it had a closed-in restroom, so I would go, get myself cleaned up. They had an outlet in there, so I was able to do my hair and stuff, and I would walk back on campus like nothing, no one knew. I'm
Wow.
walking in campus, got my heels on. Hey y'all, hey. No one knew. I mean, some
Right.
people knew because they would help me out. But it was in those moments that really brought me back to God. It was just like lonely nights, and I'm still getting high. I just didn't have I didn't have any self-control. Like, I was just so addicted. So I was still on drugs, getting high in my truck, and that's the moments when I would just say, what are you doing? What are you doing with yourself? Why are you allowing this to happen? Like, why are you sitting here in this lonely truck? Why are you, friends had left me, but then I see now that God was calling me to a season of isolation so he can
Mm-hmm.
pull me away from everything so I can finally hear him. I didn't understand it then. I'm like, why everybody leaving? Like, I haven't done anything. Like, what's going on? And so that's when I was living in lonely nights, and I began to cry out to God. I'm like, look, I grew up knowing you. I know I wasn't raised this way. And that's when it all started to happen. Like, God really started dealing with me. And I can know he was dealing with me because I'll be driving and I'll be smoking my black and mild. And I'll be like, you know what? I'm sick of doing this to myself. I'm sick of it. I just try to throw all the boxes. Because I was up to like 6 boxes a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was. I mean, it was like as soon as I finished one, I'm like, okay, I don't want my high to go down, so I get another one. So I was just smoking 6 boxes a day. I was counting. I'm like, God, this is what am I doing? And I
Right.
rolled out the window. I'm like, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of doing this. But I didn't have any. I didn't have any power. And by the time I passed the next gas station, I would swerve over. I'm like, I gotta go get me another box. Like I couldn't do it on my own. And it was just like, but I felt God tugging at me because for me to even say, let me throw it out of the window was like, I knew God was doing something. And a little after that, I went to an all-night prayer at church. I don't know why I was going because I had just smoked a big blunt because I had been out there and I had just smoked a blunt with one of my friend girls, and I went because my parents were having an all night prayer at church. And I said, well, let me go and support them. If I walked in the church, well, as soon as I pulled up, I was putting eye drops in my eyes, and my eyes were red. I was like, I didn't want the church folks. I don't want these church folks to know I'm trying to put on perfume and spray myself. Like, I don't want them to know I just got high. I'm pretty sure they probably could smell it, but I was putting eye drops, trying to get myself together. I went in just thinking I was there to support my parents, and that's when God filled me with His Holy Spirit, and I was just like, I was high when I walked in, but
Wow.
when I left that night, I have never picked up another blunt. I mean, I was so
Jesus.
addicted. I went in that night when the Lord filled me. I had not picked up another blunt, another bottle of alcohol. It was just like in that instance, like I didn't have to go through a
Wow.
step meeting. I didn't have to go through no program. It was in that one night that the whole taste was gone. Like I didn't desire it anymore. And that's when I knew I had been changed. And so
Mm.
I had been walking. I was like, okay, God, you changed me. You saved me. I'm like, I don't want to go back to what I was. Like, I'm going to make I'm just going to do every effort to stay in this because I wanted to be free. I was so bound from the lust, the men. I was like, God, I want to be free, and I just wanted to stay delivered. And I just thank God that He gave me the grace, He gave me the strength. That now I was able to keep myself for my husband. Like I was able to be what I needed to be for my husband. I was able to be that godly woman, not messing around with this one and that one. Like it was just, I was so grateful that he still decided to clean me up. And I thought I was as
Mm.
low can go. So
Wow.
a true testament of deliverance. Like I still leave some of my old pictures up because people wouldn't believe it. But I'm like, go see the transformation. The transformation is real because if he can do it for me, he can do it for you.
Mm.
Like I'm telling you, I wasn't supposed to be here, but God decided to still save me. I don't deserve to be on a podcast talking to someone telling women you are worthy, telling women you can make it, telling women you are more than just laying with a man, telling women you are somebody. I'm not supposed to be on here telling nobody anything about being a good woman. But God said not so. So I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful.
Wow. That testimony just blew me away because I never knew that part of your story, right?
Mm,
And so, because like I said, I left, came back down to New Orleans, and then I would follow you on Facebook and things like that. But I would see the pictures, and I'm like, oh my God, like that was Kaetoya. Like I didn't know she was out here, and just hearing how God transformed you. It was beautiful. It is beautiful. And it just shows you how God will take those ashes and turn them into beauty because He has refined you. And when I tell you, looking at your life, like there is no residue. You came out the fire without smelling like smoke, for real. And so many women need to hear that because like even women, they look at my life and they're like, "Oh my God, you got a husband, you got kids, and everything's just perfect." And I'm like, "Look, girl, it ain't always been like this. It
right.
hasn't. There were days where I was taking 20 pills a day. I was addicted. I was, almost losing my mind. I had 2 mental breakdowns. I was bleeding on my children, because I had children before I got married, and I had children with 2 different men, and it was a lot of toxicity. I can never say that word, toxicity, a lot of it. But I was bleeding on my children, and it was just so much trauma. But one thing that I love about your story is that when God cleaned you up, you never went back. And like you said, you was able to hold yourself from for your husband. You was able to preserve yourself for your husband, because most women, they will be in and out, in and out, in and out, and really still looking for that validation and that affirmation from a man when only God can give it to you. When you're looking for a person to quench that desire, to quench that thirst, but he is the well that never runs dry. He is all we have to go to God to drink, and God will transform our lives, because that's all it is. We're thirsty and we're hungry, and we're looking for this vice and this person to fill that void, but only God can fill that void. And so when I look at your life, I'm just like, my God, like, look at this woman. And this is the series we're starting, guys. And I didn't say it in the beginning, but we're doing a series called Motherhood Chronicles, where we're talking about motherhood, marriage, and ministry. And when I look at your life, I'm like, oh my God, this woman is, she's doing her thing in ministry, she's doing her thing in motherhood, and she's doing her thing in marriage. And so, how did God get you to the place? Because there is still some healing and transformation, even with renewing your mind, to be able to you know really, because like I found, like, a lot of women, they feel like they don't deserve the man that God has for them. Like, I went through that myself, not feeling worthy enough because of all of the men that mistreated me. So when it was time for God to give me my husband, like, I felt like I don't even deserve this. Like, why he being so nice? Like, and all of these different things, not knowing that God wants the best for me as his daughter. So how did you, you know, what was that like for you?
Girl, you are healing me right now. Like, just listening to that, because it's funny that you said that, because sometimes I feel alone in that, because that's how I've been. Like, I've had to go, I've been in therapy trying to figure out how can I be more for my husband, because and she basically was telling me that because it was hard for me to really accept that this man really does love you. This man is really doing what he can for you. Like, why are you fighting this? Because for so long, at an early age, I allowed myself to be with men that don't love me, don't care about me, but I just thought it didn't matter. I'm like, okay, I even got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna treat guys like they do us. Like, I had gotten to that point, like, guys would be calling me, blowing my phone. I'm like, and they're like, why you don't call me back? It's like, for what? I had gotten so cold hearted. And so now that I found someone who came to me, pursued me, wanted to love on me, it was tough to, like, really realize, like, this real, like, how do I accept, how do I do this? Like, how can I give myself back to somebody like this? And it just releasing the trauma of the abuse of allowing myself to be with the wrong guys, releasing the trauma of allowing myself. It's so funny that we're talking about this, because I actually saw myself the other day finally giving my testimony that I have never given. Like, maybe a couple people may have known, but even the allow myself to be raped. And I've never been able to speak on that before. And so now that I really feel like it's time, because a lot of women are dealing with stuff, and I've been holding it in for years. And I let that, and it's just like, okay, I have to release this and release that, because I didn't really realize that it was bothering me. It happened, I'm like, well, I really blame myself. I said, well, you put yourself in that situation. You shouldn't have been over there with the guy late, and stuff. So I shook it off for so long, but it wasn't until, like, my therapist was like, that's why it's hard for you to really fully give everything, give yourself over to your husband, because she said you're battling with that trauma and stuff. I'm like, I didn't realize I was, but I can see that it has been. And as much as I try to give to my husband, as much as I want to be the godly wife, as much as I want to be the submissive one, if because I didn't get that healing of that trauma, it was tough. And so God is, I'm glad you've been saying that, because God is working with me through that. And so, because I want to be all that I can be for him and for God. Like, it's not just because of my husband, but I want to please God. So I know that I have to release some things and allow God to heal me. And just to speak on it now, like, oh my God, I really feel a weight lifted off.
Wow.
I can really share that and just encourage other young women. Don't allow the trauma and the things of your past to hinder what God is doing for you right now. And
Mm.
so, oh, girl, you got me on here
Sis,
crying.
listen, when I tell you it's beautiful. And one thing about it is, like, I know that God has called me to a place for healing for women in that area, because that's my story, right? And a lot of women, we go through that and we bury that pain. And then when it's time for us to really love on this person, our spouse, we're looking at this person as if they were the person that abused and attacked us, but they're not, you know.
Right,
And I have been on my own journey with healing with that, because I never knew that affected me until I got married, right?
right,
Because when you dating and when you're courting and when you're engaged, like, that's that. But the
right,
moment you say I do, it's like all them demons start coming at you, and it's like, wait a minute, and stuff just be coming up. You're like, whoa, what is that? What is
right,
that? And God told me, He was like, I need you to deal with this, right? Because this is, it's affecting your life. It's affecting how you are with your children. It's affecting, how you are in your marriage. It's affecting how you view men. I need you to deal with this.
right,
And no one knew that I was struggling with that, and no one knew that that happened to me, because at 15, I was raped by a police officer here in New Orleans. And then right after that, another man. And I kept all of that stuff in, right? And I buried it. But what I didn't realize, the moment I began to heal and do my own healing, and allow God to process me and purge me, I realized that that was a generational curse in my bloodline. Because not only did it happen to me, but it happened to my mom, and it happened to her mom, and it happened to her mom. And so I thank God for it happening to me, so that I could kill it, right?
right,
I could take the head off of that thing so it won't touch my children. And
right,
when I tell you, I'm so grateful, because my daughter is 17 years old and have never experienced any of the things that I experienced. So if I had to go through it all over again, I would,
right,
because they get this healed version of me. If my daughter decides today, like, she knows how to tell a person no. She knows how to tell a person, like, look, or even me and her have a beautiful relationship to where she feels comfortable enough to come and talk to me. Because if I would have felt comfortable enough, I would have been able to go talk to my mom, and I would have been able to get the healing that I needed then, instead of now. I didn't start going
right,
to therapy and all of that and healing until I was in my 30s. And it was like,
right.
whoa, you know. But I just love it, and never feel ashamed, or, I love the vulnerability, because the vulnerability brings healing.
Yes,
The more you talk about it, the more you speak about it, God is healing you. And I just seen the tears come, because it was like you were ripping off that band-aid, and you were claiming your victory, because you're
right,
victorious. It
yes.
doesn't it doesn't matter about any of those things. And I realize so many women have experienced that. And you just don't know, just from you sharing that, it's gonna bless so many people.
And I feel that, because it just so, because sometimes God deals with me and I can see stuff, see things before it happens. And I actually saw myself, and I thought it was gonna be maybe on another podcast. And I was like, Lord, I'm not ready for that. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna talk about that.
Right.
And I saw myself, and I just felt like it was coming. I'm like, I don't know, Lord. There's some stuff I don't want to touch and handle or talk
Right.
about. And then now I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh Lord, I should have been more prepared because I didn't expect this to come out on this. I'm like, but God knows because I know it's time. And if I want to help somebody else, I'm gonna have to be transparent and let women know, that you can be healed from it. And just even that I'm not like I don't have it all together. I'm getting my healing as we go, and so that's how God works. He just cuts back layers and layers and layers on top of layers of things. So I'm just so grateful to that girl. It's like, oh God, I'm probably gonna freak out once I cut the
No, you're not. And that's why I told you also, like, I allow God to take over.
right,
Because if it would have been a script like, look, are we gonna talk about bam bam bam? No. God, this your platform.
right,
God, whatever it is, because even with us sharing, we're still getting healed. The
right,
muzzle is coming off. And now we're able to, stare those demons in the face and say, devil, you in trouble. You messed with the wrong one. And then it also prepares us for like we know how to intercede and pray for
right,
our children and other young girls now. Like I know, and I'm prophetic either way, I'm very prophetic. And so when I'm around people, my discernment, my gift of discerning spirit, it goes off. It goes haywire.
right,
And so I'll be around people and I'm like, whoa. And automatically I just start interceding and I'm
right,
covering my children and things like that. So I thank God for me going through those different things because now I know how to cover. I know
right,
how to cover my family, my children, and everything. So it comes with different lessons. And what it does, it equips you for the war. It equips you for the battle. We're not just regular, because when you look at you people just think, oh, she's just a little, prissy, classy woman. No, you're a warrior.
right.
Like, don't play with my children. Don't play with my husband. Don't play with I'm a warrior and I will come for your head. So the things that you've been through, it has only strengthened you and God has, trained your hands to war, your fingers to fight and your hands to war. And so I just love it.
And I'm glad you said that. That's warrior. That's what I am. I had to
Yeah.
fight to get here. I had to fight for my mind. And then once God saved me, I am fighting to stay saved. Like I'm not one of those ones. Like I can't be one of the ones to play with God because my because if I lose Him, I know where I would be. Like I would be worse off than where I was. So I have to. Like I have to fight. Like you said, I have to fight for my family. I have to intercede for my children. That's why I sacrifice so much because I don't want them to have to go through what I've been through. Like I know my parents, they did all they could. They tried to teach us, and I'm so glad they did teach me because I was hearing what they taught me when I was living out of my truck. Like I was like, you know what? I gotta go back. I gotta go back. So I'm so grateful for that. But I just want to make sure my children, and now since I've been through it all, because my parents they grew up in church, so they don't really know what we went through, what we battled. Now I can see stuff like, and I
Yeah.
discern, and I can discern. Get away from my children.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that spirit. Like I know what that is. Like I can
Yeah.
call it. I can call it out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I'm just so grateful that even I hate a lot of stuff that I've done in my past, but it brought me this far to now I can see, I can, like you said, pray, intercede, like I can call that spirit by name because I've seen it before. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just a good thing. And just all of this just, and I think you asked the question about keeping myself for my husband and things like that. And we did some old school stuff like I'm thankful that he was the right one, that he didn't mind because the old school stuff I'm talking about was like when we went out, when we were dating and courting and things like that, we drove separate cars because I didn't want to be that close to him. And then we going out, you in your feelings and you always,
Right.
it's the, oh, he liked me, he pursuing me, you get all in your feelings, and next thing you know, you get a little too close, and then he's like, I want to let my guards down, and then you in a compromising situation. I
Right.
told him, I said, no, because I know where I've come from. I
Right.
don't trust me. Even though I'm saved, I don't know. I don't want to
Right.
put my flesh in a situation that I can't go back from. And he was okay with it. He was the same, like, all right, it's fine. It looked stupid. He ahead of me, I'm driving behind him. It looked stupid, but that's what kept us. Like, it kept us. And we didn't have our first kiss until on our wedding day. Yeah, like
Wow.
I was so adamant and on that I'm not gonna put myself in a compromising position. And he is better than me. He was a virgin before we got married. And he was in church before me. He got saved at a young age. He made sure that he was keeping himself. He
Wow.
dated other girls and stuff, but he was just like, no, because he was just like, I don't, no. Because my husband, he old school. And so he didn't have a problem with me saying, okay, we're gonna drive separate cars and this and that, because I didn't want to put him in a compromising position, and I didn't want to be in a compromising position because I don't know. I mean, I can't say I'm strong enough to handle this. I don't know.
Yes.
A lot of people would slip up like, oh, okay, I thought we were good. I didn't want to think because I knew where I came from, and thank God that God kept him all them years. But I'm like,
I
I
know. When
get
when you
like,
told when you told him we driving separate cars, he was like, "That's my wife right there. I
yeah,
already know that's the one I'm marrying right there. Look,
right.
wow,
Look, that's what we did, but it kept us, and we dated a little over a year and everything. Then we got engaged, and even during the engagement process. Now, during the engagement process, I rode him a couple of places, like in the daytime and stuff like that. But we just by that time we already knew, we not. But especially doing dating, I'm like, I don't know you like that. You don't know me like that. I don't know. We driving separate cars. But then during the engagement, after we had got engaged, I want to say I might have rode with him a few times. Maybe I don't know. I can't even remember. I had to ask him. I'm just guessing maybe once or twice or so. No, when I rode with him, he had his cousin. Like, we would have somebody with us. Like, I always was big on like groups and stuff. And it was around that time that his brothers, like all of his, he had three brothers. We all got engaged and stuff around the same time. He had a brother that got married a year ahead of us, and then his other brother got married a month ahead of us and things like that. So we will all go out together in like groups to make sure we all can keep ourselves accountable for one another. And
wow,
so during this time, he was living with his one of his brothers. And I thank God for my brother-in-law. Like, we'll be in the room talking or something like that, and then he'll come peep in. So I'm just checking on y'all, making sure y'all good. But you need people like that, like, oh,
yes,
we good, but
mm-hmm,
thank you. And so my brother-in-law, he was like, just making sure. But we need people like that, because when you slip up, it's too late. And even you say, well, okay, well, all right, well, if y'all get married afterwards, but still, it just taints it in a way that it's like, now what am I presenting to my husband on our wedding day? But even though some of us we made it, thank God, things
mm-hmm,
happen. But it just feels like sometimes it may taint the process, may taint the whole thing when you do it out of order.
mm-hmm.
So
I trust me. Ask me about it. I know all about it.
yeah, so it
Yes.
was nice that we shared our first kiss on our wedding day, and
Mm,
we were intimate together for the first time on our wedding day. Like, it felt so good to say this is the way it was supposed to be. I
yes.
didn't have to put him in a compromising position. So it took some old school silly looking stuff, but it worked. It just depends on how bad do you want it to work, because I've seen a lot of young people, they start dating, and next thing you know, somebody end up pregnant in the church, and they're like, oh, but thank God that God, he forgives and stuff. But I didn't want to be that person. So I just thank God my husband was willing to be with me to do the silly stuff. He didn't mind
Mm.
driving ahead of me. So
Wow. And it's so beautiful. And it's like a breath of fresh air because you do not hear stories like this every day. You don't.
I
And
know.
it's beautiful. Like your husband didn't pressure you. He like, look, baby, I'm gonna just follow my lead, okay? And,
Right.
and y'all in the car and just gone. But it's beautiful, and that's what I've been teaching my girls because we're on this purity journey.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling them my story and the things that I went through so they look, they'll know like you ain't gotta go through these different things and be pure and to keep yourself. But not even just for your husband, keep yourself for you.
Right.
Because it's so much that goes along with having sex. It's not just about the physical realm, the spiritual realm.
Yes.
That's even worse. That's even more scary. You know, knowing that you done laid out with somebody that's schizophrenic and now you done they so connected with yours, got soul ties and the spirits. No,
Right.
no, 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 no. Mm-mm.
Right.
So it's so much, and nobody really talks about those things. Like if I would have known that, I would have been like, look, you know what? Nah, baby, we good. So no, and like I said, I was that one that gave it up. When me and my husband first met, baby, we was listen, we did our thing, you know, and we really enjoyed each other.
Yeah.
And then I had an encounter with God, and I was like, I can't live like this anymore. And we lived together. We
Hmm.
were engaged, but we lived together. We when I got engaged, I had an encounter with God 2 3 months after that, and it wrecked my life. Like, cause I was like, God, I choose you. I don't care this man could leave. This thing gotta happen. I choose you. But God made it work, you know, because that was my husband. He
Right.
made it work, and he still blessed our union once we got married. But I wish that I would have been able to keep myself, or even, you know, my husband, our story is not like that. And just to
Right.
hear your story, it's beautiful. And I thank God for you to come up and share it on tonight, on today, whatever time y'all listen to this podcast, for you to just share it, because there's so many young women, they feel like if I don't sleep with him now, he's not gonna want me and things like that. But if you're out here giving it up, you can still give it up and he still don't want you. You
Right.
can have his baby and he still don't want you. And that's what I tell my girls. I got two babies by two different men, and a whole another man had to come and be like, all right, I'll marry you, you know.
Right.
So like, you don't want to just settle, because there is somebody that's going to love you, that's going to value you. And the person who you like today, you might not even like that Negro a month from now,
I'm telling you. All
you know.
right.
Like you, yeah. And you get to know a person on a different level, because there was so much that y'all had to really get to know. And you only had a short period of time, because a year dating for you, that's no time really.
I know it.
It seemed like long, but it's not.
I think back on it now, I'm like, ooh, maybe I should have. But once he knew, and that's another thing too. It don't take long for the man to know. When he knows, he know. He just probably just waiting until he get things in order and stuff. But he already knew, because he prayed about it and he asked God, and God revealed it to him. So he already knew. So he didn't mind. And I thank God that he did not mind wait, like, but he had kept himself so long anyway. So it was like he wanted
Wow.
to keep himself. So it just worked when we both wanted to keep ourselves for that. And I'm just grateful for that, because it just makes it so much more like, it just lets you know like I did the right thing. And then to know the person that I used to be, like, freely give. And it's like I waited. So
Mm.
it just is. And I just thank God, because even that is God. Even that is transformation, because even I could have been like, well, lower my standards or did it anyway, because I'm like, well, that's how I used to be. That's how it's been. I mean, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. Like, I could have talked to myself, but I'm like, no, you have been changed. You're not who you used to be.
Mm.
And you walk accordingly to where you are. Like, I'm different now. I'm new. I really have a changed mind. So and I'm just grateful for that. I am grateful for that, because you know I don't know. I don't know, but it works. So, but and I thank God that, and even in your testimony, that God can still change you and use you too, even if you didn't wait until marriage. But God can still bless the union afterwards once you come to yourself. That's what He wants us to come to ourselves and to
Mm.
repent. And He's like, okay, I can wipe the
Yes.
slate clean, but now you got to wipe it clean. Like, just like we were talking about, like
Yes.
God can forgive us, But then if we don't forgive ourselves, we're still bringing it on to our husbands. Like, God, like, I've already done that. I've already dealt with that. I just need you to work on it. Now you need to get rid of it. So
Girl.
I'm just grateful for the journey. Every day is a journey. And I'm not saying I don't have it all figured out. I'm still figuring it out. But I got God on my side to figure it out. And he has laid out, even like you was reading Proverbs 31, he laid out who we're supposed to be. And I'm like, thank you, because now I have something to look at. I know where I'm supposed to be as a woman of God, as a wife, as a mother, and things like that. So
Wow. And girl, you just said a whole mouthful. And if we go back to the forgiving yourself, that right there, child, that's a whole nother podcast.
right.
But I love that you said that he went to God. A man that
That's how we met. We met in prayer. That's how we met.
Jesus.
I'm telling you, is we met in prayer, and he had seen me. I can't remember if he seen me first. He had seen me. Well, I had known him from the church. Anyway, but we were the only two young people going to this prayer. It was this church that we used to visit, and it was a bunch of older people because the prayer was at, I think, what, 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 to 6:30. So we were the only young people getting up in that prayer, going to prayer, and so we kind of like just saw each other in the prayer amongst all the other people. But I just loved to pray. He loved to pray, and that's kind of how he was like. He was in prayer. He was like, Lord, if this, this who I want. I see this woman praying and stuff like that. And he prayed about it. God showed it to him. And he said, I went back again to make sure. He said, God showed it to him. He said, I went back 3 times to make sure before I approached you or whatever. So that's how we kind of really built our relationship through prayer. But he had already seen me around the church and stuff. I had seen him, but I didn't see him like that, but it was after us being in prayer and stuff that we really just kind of built a relationship in prayer service. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's beautiful. And that touches on the next topic, ministry.
Yes, okay.
Oh my goodness. Wow, because you are a minister. And
Hmm.
girl, you're really blessing me tonight. For real.
Well,
For
thank
real. And I just want to know, like, how do you been, like, because you're coming from this world where, okay, so how long were you, um, uh, you know, from the time you got saved till you met your husband? How long was that time frame?
6 years, 5 or 6 years. So I
Okay.
got saved at 21, and we met. So we got married when I was like 27. So I say about 6 years, 5 years, 5 or 6 years, something like that, because I can't remember the exact. So about 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And so I had been saying, but the thing about it was I didn't want to be married. I was enjoying I was enjoying Jesus because I was so happy to be saved. And let remind you that I had already been out there. It was like I don't want to see another.
Right, right, right.
I'm like I was good. I was good. So when God saved me, I was just enjoying it. And the funny thing is, um, it's in my book. I have a testimony in my book. Well, I was wearing a ring on my finger, my wedding finger. And my thing was marry Jesus. I think I was praying one morning or something. I can't remember how it happened. I had to go back and read it. But I was praying or something, and God was like, marry me. Something to that extent. I was like, I gotta marry Jesus first. Like I was loving on him. So I had put a ring on my finger, wasn't married to no man but Jesus. And people were saying, girl, you gonna run your husband away. I'm like, I'm not thinking about that. I said, because if he for me, he'll know I'm not really married. Sure enough, my husband, I mean, he wasn't my husband when he saw me, like he knew me, he knew I wasn't married, but I was wearing my ring for years. And because I wanted to focus, because I had been out with just out there that I'm like, I didn't want any distractions. I didn't want anybody approaching me. I didn't want to see you. I wanted to love on Jesus. Like I really was so happy of my new life and my new transformation. So I was wearing my ring. Then when my husband saw me and this and that. So it had been 5 or 6 years of just me loving on Jesus. Like it was, now I did date one other guy. I dated one other guy before my husband, but that didn't last long because it wasn't for me. And the guy showed that quick. Girl, I started having visions and dreams, and it was like, God, like,
Oh,
get
wow.
you know,
Right.
crazy. Like, I really thank God that he got me out of that. So I just dated one other guy before I had met my husband in the church, after being saved. So other than that, because I think that probably lasts about two months or so, maybe. It was nothing. And then after that, then my husband came along and stuff. But I didn't want to be married because I was like, I needed that time for me. Like I needed that time to really figure out who I am now. I needed that time to really see what God wanted from me. Like I needed to hear from God. So I didn't really want distractions. But then when God was like, okay, it's time or whatever, and I'm like, who? What? Him? What? But God was like, no, so he had to get my mind right for it. So I'm grateful that he did because my husband is a great blessing, and I'm just thankful for it. So
What's hilarious is that most women, they desire marriage, right? And
I know,
it's so much to the point to where they idolize it, and it is their idol. Like they're my kingdom spouse, my kingdom husband, my marriage, and it's so much that to where they put God on the back burner. But you were the total opposite. You were pursuing God. I ain't worrying about no man. I'm gonna put this ring on my own finger. I'm married to you, Jesus. That's that. And God had to tap you on your shoulder, like, look, girl, look, it's
right?
time. It's time, But it just shows you how it's true. I remember when I was engaged and I was going to my church, and the prophetess, she was telling one of the young ladies that was there that was dating and looking for her husband. She was like, let him find you in God. Like, in order for him to find you, he should have to go to God. If he coming to you first, then that ain't him. But if he going to God, then that's him. And it's just so true. Like your husband had to go to God, and like you say, he ain't go not once, not twice, but he this brother went 3 times. He
Right,
like, look, I need to know without a
right,
shadow of doubt that this is my wife, because I ain't trying to disturb nothing. He didn't want no distractions. You didn't want no distractions. And look how God just mended it, and he just brought
right.
it all together. And it's so beautiful and refreshing because y'all are young. Like I said, y'all
Yeah,
are young. Like you could have been out here, you could have had babies coming into this picture. You
right.
could have just it could have went a different way. But I love how God, he rewrote your story, and it's a blessing.
It really is. It really is. And just having you while I'm on here talking about it, I'm like, it is a blessing. Like, just to hear
Yeah.
about, like, I'm so grateful that this is what God had for me. And I'm saying, even after he proposed and stuff, I'm like, God, I went into prayer like, you sure, Lord? Like, you sure? Girl, I really was like,
Oh my
I didn't
God.
want it. I did not, because I was, I was traveling, I was ministering, preaching different places and stuff. I'm like, is this gonna slow me down or what? It was just,
Yeah.
but I wanted to be sure too, because I'm like, y'all, I'm enjoying my life. Like I'm not desperate. I know some women. Oh God, I need a husband. Girl, I was like, look,
Hey, I would have been one of them women because I need somebody to kill the bugs and take out the trash, honey. Pay the bills, kill the bugs, take out the trash. It's like,
right,
for real. So send me mine, please. And you over here, Jesus, I got it. I'm preaching, I'm praying, I'm prophesying, I'm casting out devils. He gonna slow me down, Lord. I don't want.
I was
Oh my
young, girl. I was young.
God.
Maybe eventually I would have been like, okay, or whatever. But and even though, because the only reason I did this because I was talking to one of these ladies who used to mentor me, and I told her, I don't want to be married, because she was over the marriage ministry and stuff at this church, and I was like, well, I don't really want to be married. She's like, you don't want to be married? I'm like, why? And so she began to talk to me. She said, well, this is what God has for you. This is your plans and stuff. And she was like, make a list and all that. I said, okay, fine. So I did make a list of, if I was to get married, what type of guy I would want. But it just wasn't my desire. I was just done with that, all of that, because I had it was just, talking to this one, talking to that one. It was just like, it was just old to me,
Right.
I don't care. All of them was the same to me in my eyes, like, just another guy. So I didn't, that wasn't really my desire because it was old to me by then. But the Lord knows. He knows. So he
He
knows.
knows,
He
and he
knows.
does all
He know
things
I needed something
well.
to be rooted and grounded because I wouldn't have been able to do this by myself. Yeah.
Wow. So how did that transition? Because like you said, you were preaching, praying, prophesying, casting out devils, slaying them, and everything, and then you get married, and now you have kids, and
It was everything. It was basically everything I was afraid of. Girl, it was tough. By the time I started having children, my prayer life got shaky. I was like, I couldn't get up for the 5:30 prayer anymore. Girl, I was trying my best. I was like, okay. I said, let me go and get my bottles pumped. I'm going to have them ready. Let me take the baby. I'm going to push him around while I go pray. Girl, that didn't last long. It was just, I was trying to fight for where I was in God with this new family, these new babies. It was like, and I felt like I was having a mental breakdown because I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And I'm like, God, I need you. Like, that's why, then sometimes I was like, that's why I didn't want to get married. I'm just being
mm-hmm.
honest because
Yes,
I wasn't where I was. And I felt like,
yes,
and then I was trying to understand, like, okay, well, God, I don't feel that close to you like I used to be. Like, what is going on? But then the other mothers in the church and stuff, they were trying to say, well, now you care for the things of your husband. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I want to go pray. I want to go preach. I want to go, this and that. But it
right.
was like, stay at home, build up your family. Girl, and I fought it for so long, even being a stay-at-home mom. A lot of people say, I want to be a stay-at-home wife and blah, blah, blah. And my husband was like, that was one of the things he said when we got married. And it sounded good. He was like, well, I want you to be, when we start having children, I want you to be home with the children and stuff. This day and time, we need to make sure. And which I was like, okay, good, because I want to be home with my child. Well, that's what I thought. I want to be home with my children to make sure I can watch them. And he said that I was okay. It sounded so good because I've been working since I was 15. Like, I've always been independent. I wasn't even old enough to work, but I knew the manager. She got me in there, and I've been working. Like, I knew I worked. I was one that worked so I can get it. And he was like, come home. And I'm like, well, okay, I can come home. So by this time, I'm like 27. And I said, okay, well, that's fine. And girl, I got home. The baby started crying. I had housework. I like, give me a job. Like, it was a lot to get used to.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I need a job. At least I can have a lunch break. But so it took a lot to get adjusted. And I really couldn't find that adjustment. Like, I just couldn't find it. But thankfully, God now is kind of, since the children are getting older, they don't need me as much. Now I can do more. And now God has renewed me, and he's renewing me. And now I'm getting back to where I was. And someone prophesied to me, it's like, where you were 7 years ago, God is getting ready to restore that. So it's been like a little space in time before I have been like ministering and doing things. And then God is like, I want you to do this. So I started talking on my doing lives about my book and stuff. And God just really bring me back to the place, because it's been a while. It was a minute before I was like really encouraging people. Like, I was like, I'm trying to figure my life out. I can't encourage you, So it was a lot. So I'm not gonna sit with me. I just like to tell people the truth. It was
Yes.
a lot to adjust.
Mm.
And but thankfully, I feel like I'm finally getting there. And even my first lady was like, you're going to probably write another book about this, or you're going to write a book about motherhood and stuff like that. I'm like, well, really? Because I don't know. But I really see now, I really feel like God is really showing me. And I fought it for a long time. I was like, I need a job. I need a job. I can't handle this. And God will always say, stand still. I'm like, stand still. So I tried for like a week or two. I'm like, fine. He said, stand still. And my husband like, you don't need to work. I'm like, okay. The next thing I know, I'm like, I got to get out of this house. So I started applying. Everything was just falling through. I mean, I had never had a problem getting a job. Like I said, I've been working since I was 15. I got hired on every job I even thought about. Girl, I started trying to apply for different jobs, and then I'll be walking around like I was in the doctor's office, and I see a big sign say stand still. I'm like, what? I'll be riding on the highway. I see a billboard, stand still and see the salvation. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
the longest I was fighting it. I'm not gonna lie, I was fighting it. So I was like, okay, fine. He want me home, which I'm glad to be home. But I was just like, I just started coming up with different businesses on from home. Girl, I was like, it ain't me. It's just hard for me to sit still. Girl, I started photography business. I started sewing. I started a preschool.
That's why I say you the Proverbs 31 woman, baby. You was doing it all. Listen.
I'm telling
You
you.
had a preschool and I loved it. And I was like, wow, like she's very productive, very fruitful, and I love it. And even with you, like, because most men, they like, especially this generation, they want to be feminized. They want to stay at home.
Right.
No, baby girl, we not doing that.
Oh,
Or they want 50-50 when it come down to the bills and all that, and like we ain't doing that either.
right.
So it's a lot for you, but for you, your husband's like, look, you done had these babies, these my babies. You stay home and take care of the kids and do cook and clean and do the things that the woman supposed to do. And she like, I'm an INDEP. Listen, she was going back old school. She like, look, I am boosting the sister. I want to go back to work. And the man of God is like, no, I need you. And God like, stand still. And you like, I'm gonna stand still and fill out this job application, but I'm going back to work. And God, but most women, they would like, girl,
I know.
you don't want work.
It's crazy, girl. I don't know.
don't want work.
I can't figure myself out. People try to figure. Let me figure out Kate. Girl, I can't figure me out because I'm like, I'm different in all areas. I'm like, I don't know why, but it's just something in me like I gotta be doing. So it took 7 years. This test took 7 years of me standing still. God had to keep beating me upside the head. Like, I said stand still. I said no.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, fine. So because it was a lot to adjust. It wasn't me. Like I told you, I was one who didn't want to be married. Now I'm married and I got to submit to a man. I got to be with these children all day. It was like I've given up my whole life.
Yeah.
That I felt like this was my life. I feel like I gave it all up and I'm in a new life. I'm trying to be somebody totally new from, I don't know who this is. So you have, and people don't hear that a lot. People just say, "Oh, girl, you're getting married. Oh, what kind of dress you gonna get? Oh, your flowers." Baby, it's more than that wedding day because you have to be a wife after the wedding. You're gonna have to be a mother after the wedding. So it's like you're gonna be a whole nother person. Even when you have children, your hormones change, you're imbalanced. I mean, just all type of stuff. Your body change, and you're like, who is this? So you're trying to find out who you are again. You're not even the same one you met that your husband married. Now you're his wife. Now you're a mother. So now you got to put on another role. Okay, so now you're a mother of one. Okay, here comes another baby. Now you're a mother of two. You're constantly changing. And people don't realize that you are not the same. And so it took me a while to try to realize I'm changing. You're not that one that got up at 5:30 a.m. every morning to go to prayer. Now you got to readjust your prayer life. And I'm like, I don't want to. I like the 5:30. He's talked to me then. But it's like, try it another time. So it was a lot to adjust. But I thank God that now I'm past that test. It was 7 years, and He finally told me now is the time. Girl, I got a job. I'm going to work. But I'm going to teach again. I'm teaching with my children. So I'm still with my children. And I'm not sacrificing my children because that's one big thing. Like, I don't want to sacrifice my kids. Whatever I did, my children were there with me. That's why I started in-home preschools so I can have my children. That's why I did stuff from home so I can still be with my children. So I'm working at a school and my children be at the same school. So it works out. So God like, okay. And I'm like, but before I got the job, when they offered me the job, like, God, can I? I did have to pray because I'm like, everything had been falling through in the past. And he was like, this is me. I like, is this you, God? Because I didn't want to have to go through another staying still again,
Right.
So it worked out. And so that's going to be a new adjustment. going from so long without working outside of the home to now, so I don't know. Everything is a new adjustment. Everything is a new adjustment. Like your life, every day is new. Your children, one minute they like something, next minute they want something new. So you're constantly changing. And that's all what it is with the ministry, the marriage. You just got to realize you got to be adjustable. Like you got to bend and move. Like you have to, because it's not
Yes.
the same. So.
Nope. You are absolutely right, child. Because I'm over here adjusting now. I'm like, oh my God, my daughter, she's gonna be a senior this year. So it's just like, whoa, what are we doing here?
Right.
And I've been a mom since I was 19.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this thing, but it's still always more adjustments, and it's just a lot. So but I thank God I wouldn't change any of it.
Right.
And I just thank God because we're always able to just glean and get more wisdom, and
Right.
just God deals with all of us differently. And so even with me, I didn't want to go back to work, but I had to because I was falling into a rut of depression and all of that stuff, and me being home because the kids are at school and everything. And I was like, no, I got to go be around people,
Right.
and things like that. But I'm slowly getting back to my place where, I'm able to do more entrepreneurship and just different things like that. Because that's my heart's desire. My heart's desire is not going be with my kids all day. Because I'm with them all day anyway, too. And girl, them kids don't be worrying about me. They're old. They
Yeah, you have
11 and,
yeah.
yeah. 11 and 17, girl. They be telling me what I'm gonna do. They be checking in on me.
Yeah.
Where you at? What time it is? When you coming home? Come on, girl. I be coming home. Dinner be made and everything. So look, I got it good. I got it good.
Yeah.
It's coming. It is coming. It is coming. Man, well, listen, guys, we don't want to hold you guys. It has been a pleasure. When I tell you, we have talked about motherhood, we talked about ministry, we've healed on this podcast, and God has definitely been here with us on today. Is there anything that you would like to add and tell the people before we, you know?
I guess trust God. Trust God through the process. It's not gonna always be easy, but God sees your sacrifices. He knows, and open yourself up to be that woman. Like, don't get scared of the word submitting to a man. Don't get scared of being at home and things like that, because God is he's working something out in you through the process. Like I can see it now that what God has
Right.
worked out for me. So I just want to just encourage and trust God through the process. Like he knows where he wants us. So I think that's my biggest thing, that and to realize everything is not going to be the same. You're going to have to adjust your mindset constantly, because God has, I mean, he does things, his ways are not our ways. And so he would do some things and we don't know why, but in the end we'll see. So just have a good mindset and trust God through the process. I think
Amen.
I
And
don't know.
that's great though. That's great
Yeah.
because we're gonna go through different things in life, and we have to, even with God just this week, the spirit of fear tried to grip me and overwhelm me, and God brought me back to Psalms 91, and He like, look, trust me. Don't
Right.
worry about what's going on over there. Trust me. Long as you dwell, you live with me. This is where you are. So trust me. So it's great advice, and I'm definitely gonna take it. So I thank you. Man, listen, y'all. Well, we have had an amazing time. Kay, please give the people your socials and tell them where they can get your book from once again.
Okay, well, my social, everything is my name, Kaetoya McClendon, and that's on Instagram and Facebook. And then my book is available on Amazon, Books a Million, any major book selling platform. It is A Woman of Worth 60-day devotional. So you can pick that up. And my boutique is Leluxe, Leluxe dash boutique.com.
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you guys so much, and I cannot wait until we are back. And so I'm going to end it up now. And I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye bye.